Hello and welcome to day 13 of our yoga advent calendar. Today we are going to do some balancing, some one-legged balances. What is the point of doing a theme around balance for your yoga advent calendar and not doing some balancing? So prepare, it'll be fine, don't be scared. So if you are okay to stand but you want a chair, grab a chair or a piece of wall, your choice. Grab your yoga mat if you have a yoga mat. Basically grab your space. Like I say, we are going to be doing one-legged balances. We're going to be standing up. If you're really not comfortable standing up or you don't want to, doesn't matter, we will do them on the chair as well. I will talk you through how to do it on a chair, so bear with me. The only thing I'd suggest if you are going to be seated throughout all of it is to grab a yoga block. It doesn't have to be a yoga block. A book will do as well. Don't make it a super heavy book, but do make it sturdy. So if you need to stop the video, stop the video. Grab your equipment, grab your space, and I will see you in a second. So we're going to start standing. If you are on a chair and want to stay seated for this part, feel free to do so. So make your way to standing mindfully, with compassion to your body and everything, and we will get standing. So we're going to start with some half sun salutes just to get ourselves warmed up. But before we do, find your mountain pose, find feet hip distance apart, gently pushing down through the feet, getting the legs engaged, lengthening the tailbone slightly, shoulder blades down the back, palms facing forward, taking your gaze straight out in front of you. And we'll take 3 breaths to bring ourselves into the room. Breathing in and out. In and out. Third one, breathing in and out. Lovely stuff. And then from here, if you're seated, same applies. Inhaling, raising the arms overhead. Oh, maybe taking your gaze to your thumbs. And as you exhale, fold forward, hinging at the hips, knees bent. Inhale, halfway lift, so our hands come to our knees or to our shins, shoulder blades down the back, chest open. Exhale, fold. To lift up, we look forward, push through our hands or our feet, and lift the way all the way back up. Inhaling, arms overhead. And exhale, hands come down to prayer position. Do that 2 more times. So if you are already stood behind your chair, make sure you're not going to hit your head on your chair. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, fold, bend the knees nice and generously. Inhale, hands come to shins or to your knees, shoulder blades down the back. Exhale, fold. Take a look forward, inhale, push through the feet, lift yourselves back up to standing or seated, arms come overhead, and exhale, hands down to prayer position at heart center. 1 more time like that. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips, knees bent if you're stood. Inhale, hands come to shins, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Get those knees nice and generously bent. Look forward, push through the feet to lift yourselves back up to standing or seated. Arms overhead. And exhale, hands come down to prayer position, heart center. Lovely stuff. So, we're going to now move into chair pose. Are you worn out already, baby? She is. So in chair pose, you can either have your feet hip distance apart or together. I'm going to teach it with your feet apart. If you normally like them together, do that as well. So as you exhale, bend the knees. Bend the knees a little bit more. Bend the knees a little bit more. So this is if you are stood. If you normally are on a chair and you want to stand, come and stand and do this. Have one hand on the chair. I will show you in a second how we do this on a chair. Bring the arms overhead. Lovely stuff. So if we are on a chair, I'm just going to bring this behind. Come to the edge of the chair. Lean forward slightly. Bring the feet underneath your knees, so quite far underneath. Arms overhead and fold forward. So bend the knees if you stood. Keep bending them, hug the tummy muscles in, lengthen through the tailbone, really hug your tummy muscles in, breathe, hold, and then lift up, release out, walk it off if you need to walk it off. All right, darling. So, if you were seated for that and you fancy standing up now, please feel free to stand up, walk behind the chair and have one or two hands on the chair in front of you, just moving that out of the way. Have your feet hip distance apart, and if you're standing or seated, start to lift up onto your tiptoes and then calm down onto the heels. Inhale, lift up onto the tiptoes. Exhale, bring it down, don't, thank you. Take the full length of the inhale to come up on the tiptoes. Exhale, lower down. Full length of the exhale. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower down. Couple more. So if you are feeling wobbly stood, find a piece of wall, find a chair. There's no shame in it. Lovely stuff. Excellent. So find your centre. For everybody who is stood, and in fact for those who are seated, lift your left toes up, your left foot up ever so slightly. If you're more comfortable having the toes on the mat ever so slightly, do so. It really doesn't matter. The idea is that most of our weight is through our right foot, and we're going to do the same thing on the right foot. So on an inhale, lift up onto the right tiptoes. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift up onto the right tiptoes. Exhale, lower down. Continue. Let's do 6 of those in total. That was 3, 4. Hold on to your chair. Challenge yourself by not holding onto the chair. Lovely stuff. 1 more. You've got this. And then release out. Find your centre. Excellent stuff. So you know how you're doing it on a chair. I'm going to join you stood up for the left foot. Just going to move that up a little bit so you can't see Daisy. Oh, you can. So same kind of thing on a chair. Well, stood up. We'll do it on the left foot. So raising the right foot up slightly, holding onto your chair if you want to. Inhale, come up onto the left tiptoes. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift up onto left tiptoes. Exhale, lower down. Play around with using play around with what your balance is like. I think that's 4, so we'll do 2 more. Lovely stuff. And just walk it out, shake it out, do whatever you need to do just to kind of find your centre again. Excellent. So I'm just going to move the block, pop it onto the chair. If you have a chair, if you're stood and you have a chair, just take it to one side. In fact, I'm going to pop it there. So have it within easy reach. If you are seated still at this point, I encourage you to try to do this next exercise. Doesn't matter if you don't want to. If you don't want to stand, just do what we're doing but seated, but you're obviously not going to be travelling anywhere. Everybody come to the back of your mats. You can still see me, just about. Place your left foot on the centre, in the centre of the mat, and then bring your right heel to toe and walk very slowly up the centre of your mat. Daisy has no idea what I'm doing right now. Look, what are you doing? Have your hands as wide as you need them. Have your chair where it's comfortable for you. So if you want to stop the video, go and get a second chair so you've got like a little barrier, kind of a little runway for you, do it. And then we'll go backwards. Making sure you know where your chair is, you're comfortable where the chair is. Excellent. Lovely stuff. So we'll do that one more time. I'm going to turn the chair and I'm going to do it on a chair now. So what I'd say, if you're on a chair, if you haven't been already doing it, just swapping one foot in front of the other and then bring it back. So if you stood, if you're standing, please feel free to crack on, walk in heel to toe all the way up to the top of the mat and then back. If you're seated and you fancy it, place a yoga brick on your head while you just move the feet one in front of the other and back. You can do this if you are walking without the aid of a chair. Your choice though. So once you're at the back of the mat, sorry, try that with your eyes closed. There is no obligation to do that with your eyes closed. If you're not comfortable with your eyes closed and you want to keep them open, but try and challenge yourself slightly, maybe look upwards. Your choice, really doesn't matter. So we'll do that one more time with our eyes closed. So I'm going to place the block on my head and got my eyes closed, seated, placing one foot in front of the other, walking up the length of the mat. Noticing when I get to the end of the mat, maybe taking a look to see if I've gone diagonally. You've gone into Harry Potter world or not. And then once you're at the top of the mat, take it back to the back of the mat. Go backwards with the eyes closed or with the eyes open, but maybe looking upwards. Your choice. Find what works for you. My yoga block nearly fell off. Up. So once you're at the back of the mat, well done. Just take a second just to really notice what you've achieved there. It's a lot harder walking heel to toe than you think. So well done for doing it. Lovely. So from here, come back onto the mat. If your chair is off the mat, bring it back onto the mat, but have the seat facing you. And we're going to, excuse me, move into Warrior 3 and then into Half Moon. And they are one-legged balances. So I'm going to describe 3 ways of doing it. One of them is stood without the aid of a chair or anything. One of them is with the aid of a chair, and one of them is seated. So let's do the stood one first. What am I doing? I'm placing that out of my way. Bringing the chair in front of me. Seat face, don't cough, thank you, it's all right. Thank you, Daisy. It's a beautiful noise, I apologise. So for anybody who stood, take your weight into your left foot. So really kind of make a strong base with the left foot. Tap your right toes back, and then we start to fold from our left hip. Take your hands to your chair, if the chair is in front of you, and then raise that right leg. Oh, there's a sofa in my way. Raise that right leg to where it's comfortable for you. Have your right toes pointing down towards the mat. Make sure you've got a nice strong left leg. If you have a chair in front of you, play around with whether you want to lift one hand or both hands or not at all. If you are without chair, hands can be either prayer position at heart center, out wide in what I like to call aeroplane mode, or in front of you in what I like to call Superman mode. If you're here or here or here, push through that right heel, really push through the heel. Warrior 3. So come in and out of that as many times as you need to, and I will show that seated instead. So if you're seated, similar kind of thing, but instead of the toes pointing down, we're going to have the toes pointing up. So lifting the right leg up, pushing down through that left leg, grab your book or your block, place the block on your head. You do not have to have anything on your head if you're not comfortable with that. Arms come out at the side or overhead. Hug your stomach muscles in. Breathe. If you're stood and you're coming in and out of Warrior 3, that's absolutely fine. And in fact, I've changed my mind. We're not going to do Half Moon. If you know Half Moon, feel free to go into it. And then exhale, release out. Take the yoga block off your head. Stand up, walk it off. Lovely stuff. Let's do that the other side. Are you joining us? You doing a balance too? So, make a base on your right leg. Same goes if you're seated. Push down through that right foot. Get the leg nice and strong. Tap your left toes back if you're stood and in front of a chair, and then start to fold from your right hip. Lifting that left heel up to where it's comfortable, no higher than hip height. If you're seated, lift your left leg up, push through the heel. Take your position of arms, so you can either have both hands on the chair or experiment with taking one hand off and not. If you're seated and you fancy putting the yoga block on your head, do that. Arms out at shoulder height or overhead in front of you. Breathe. Warrior 3. Come in and out as many times as you need to. Breathe. And then release out. Shake it off. Lovely stuff. And then if you want to swing the arms around, swing the arms around. Oh dear. Let go of control of the arms. I mean, if you're seated, don't, because you don't want to necessarily hit the chair. Lovely stuff. If you were standing and want to come and sit on a chair, please do so. And we will just start to calm the body down. Start to make those swinging of the arms a little bit less. And then bring your hands to prayer position, heart center. Take a soft gaze. And we'll end with 3 breaths. Breathing in and out. In and out. Notice how you feel now that you've done all those balances. Notice how your mind feels. Hopefully more balanced, calmer. Thank you very much for joining me today. We are on the home stretch, so I will see you tomorrow for day 14.